Welcome to another episode of Video Store Rejects. This is a podcast where we discuss directors' filmographies and our favorite film franchises. I'm your host, Cody House. We have a returning guest from the other side of the pond. That's Mr. Robbie Flemming. Welcome back, sir.
Hello. Hello, Cody. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Last time I was on, I think we spoke about all the money in the world, but I'm glad we're talking about a movie we will properly dive into because there's a lot to talk about with this movie.
Yes, this is a movie I think we both probably enjoy more than All the Money in the World. For those of you who aren't following, we are doing the films of Jim Henson and Frank Oz. The reason I combined these two gentlemen together is it's kind of hard not to because they work so closely together and they were kind of a great comedy duo in the work of puppetry and children's programming and just film in general. But the other reason is Jim Henson only directed 3 films, sadly, and we have reached the final film of his directorial filmography, and that is his 1986 cult classic, The Labyrinth.
Yes.
So my question to you, since you are a younger person, you were born after the death of Jim Henson. Did you know who Jim Henson was? Were you aware of the Muppets? Were you a fan of any of this?
I loved the Muppets when I was a little boy.
Okay. So what was it one of the movies? Was it reruns of the Muppets?
They used to rerun the Muppet Show on Nickelodeon, which is a channel in the UK for teenagers.
We have Nickelodeon here in the States.
Yes. So they showed reruns on the British Nickelodeon. I had a feeling they have their own film series.
Right. So you were exposed by the actual Muppet Show from reruns, the classic Muppet Show from the
that and my favorite film when I was really little was Muppet Christmas Carol.
Of course it will. I mean, not just because it's, the Christmas Carol, but also that's probably, that comes out not too long before you're born, so that probably was the one you saw first, other than also, that being a cultural milestone for you guys in the UK.
Yes.
Okay, so you knew who the Muppets were, at least. Did you know that Jim Henson was kind of the creator of those characters?
I learned about him more in primary school.
Okay, cool.
But I knew it was Jim Henson Productions. I just needed to know who Jim Henson was.
Got you. Well, yeah, because his company is still going on strong this day and age, and still
they worked on Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yes, they did, and his daughter Lisa Henson was one of the producers of that film.
Nice.
Okay, so did you see that? I guess you saw this movie after watching at least some exposure to the Muppets then, so you knew it had something to do with Jim Henson then.
Actually, I watched this film for the first time back in 2016 because I got really upset about David Bowie's death, and a lot of my friends were surprised I never seen Labyrinth, so it came on to Netflix, and I thought I might as well give this film a go, and I really enjoyed it.
That was going to be my next question. If it wasn't the Jim Henson effect, was it the David Bowie effect? So before we get all into Bowie, are you or were you a fan of either Jim Henson or Frank Oz with their work, either as directors or just as puppeteers and creators?
I'd say I think I'm more of a fan of the Muppets rather than Jim Henson and Frank Oz, but I do love the way how Frank Oz brought. I thought he was the best, voice actor and puppeteer. The way how he brought Miss Piggy and Fozzie Bear to life.
All right, so yeah, so you watched this for the first time. The movie is 30 years old, but it held up for you, and you watched it because David Bowie passed in 2016. So, what do you think of David Bowie here as the Goblin King?
I've seen him in a film since, and I would have to say, thinking about it, this is his best performance.
Okay, I love him as Tesla in The Prestige, but I have not seen
Yes.
him in The Man Who Fell to Earth, the classic
Oh,
Nicholas Rogues.
that's a great one. That's his second best.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like he is great here, but we're playing more with the Bowie persona. I don't feel then maybe, you
Yeah.
know, that's the thing with musicians who become actors. A lot of times they're not really acting, they're really just kind of playing a highly stylized or fictionalized version of themselves. Now
I
with
would,
David Bowie.
I would say that David Bowie is one of the singers slash rock stars who can do both.
I would agree with you, and part of that is because of his career as a musician is always kind of transforming himself into different kind of looks and personas and styles of music that he experimented with throughout his career.
My favorite, Ziggy Stardust.
Makes sense, yeah. That's an iconic look. Great album. And I think here he is playing this aloof, mysterious, dangerous, creepy individual.
Yes, if you think about it, it is about a man who kidnaps a child. The film's technically
Kid
about child abduction.
not just kidnaps a child, but also has some weird sexual tension with an underage girl that's icky.
Yeah, but it's set in Britain, I'm assuming, and she's 16. And like I was saying to you earlier when I was texting you, 16 is the legal age in the United Kingdom, which I think should be changed to 18, like thinking about it.
Yes, yes, yes. It should. But do you know what other musicians they were considering for this role when they decided they wanted to cast a human in this role? Because originally, when they were developing this story, Jareth was going to be a puppet as well.
I couldn't see him being a puppet, but half the time I think, how is he the only human lookalike out of the goblins?
So Henson really wanted Sting, which I guess in the 80s sort of makes sense. Other musicians they considered was Prince. That's the oddly also died, I think, within a week of David
Yeah.
Bowie. He's kind of the only one out of the list that I think Mike could have done it. Um, Michael Jackson and Mick Jagger.
I think if Michael Jackson was in this film, it wouldn't be as talked about today. I know Bowie's no saint, but no, I feel like people get a little bit more uncomfortable with Michael Jackson than they do with David Bowie.
Yes, yes, I think you're right. Um, but it was Henson's sons, Brian, and I forget the other son's name. He also has passed. That said it had to be David Bowie. There was no other person that could play this role.
John's his brother.
That's right,
Brian's
John
brother.
Henson.
John's also the voice and the puppeteer of Hoggle. No, Brian. Yeah,
Brian's the voice of Hoggle. So
yes.
interesting thing about Brian Henson. They are filmed. This is also filmed in London when they're making this, and it's actually being pretty close to the set of Ridley Scott's Legend. The female lead of Legend is actress Mia Sara, who was considered for the role of Sarah in this, and Henson met her and they started liking each other, and now they're husband and wife so many years later.
I thought that's who she was. She's the girl from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes, Mia Sara is Ferris Bueller's girlfriend. Yeah, that would be her probably most famous role.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Other people that were considered for this role was for the that eventually went to Jennifer Connely, Helena Bonham Carter, but they decided they wanted an American actress.
Okay.
Some other named actors: Sarah Jessica Parker, Mary Stuart Masterson, Laura Dern, Lily Taylor, Ali Sheedy, and Marissa Tomei were
Yes.
all
And
actors
also,
they considered.
Yasmin Bleach was one but that was also auditioned as well.
Yes, she was. Yeah, that's a lot of up and coming actors.
Oh, it also says on the Wikipedia page that Simon McCorkindale or Kevin Kline was also offered the role of
Yes, that was of Jareth before they decided to go with a musician. Yeah, Kevin Kline was. That would have been an entirely different style of performance.
That would
not be the same. Okay, so you're coming to this movie later in life, and you did like it, but what do you like about this movie?
I like the adventure side, how she has to search through the labyrinth, and it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, Spirited Away, and Pan's Labyrinth. The way how like each step she goes, she always bumps into something random.
Yeah, it is very much, and you can kind of see a lot of the influences in the movie if you pay attention to some of the books and things in Sarah's bedroom in the beginning of the movie. Like you see a copy of Alice in Wonderland, you see a copy of Wizard of Oz, which is very much has a Wizard of Oz feel too, especially with all the companion characters she kind of picks up on her journey with Hoggle and Sir Didymus and Ludo.
Yes. Yes.
Also, yeah.
So I was going to say, I've met one of the actors in this movie. He performed as one of the creatures. He was two of the Fireys, I think they're called.
Oh, okay, cool.
And his name's Danny John Jules. You might know him from Blade 2, but he's more famous as the cat from Red Dwarf, and I have his autograph.
Oh, that's cool. So he was he the voice or one of the puppeteers for that character?
The voice for two of them.
Cool. I did not know that.
You'll recognize the two puppeteers who they play the characters. They are Muppet regulars. Steve Whitmire, who would go on to do Kermit later on, and Dave Goles, who does Gonzo.
Yes, they were very much regulars in the Henson Company and performing characters.
I notice they've changed the voice of Kermit now.
Yes, there is a different person being Kermit the Frog now. And he sounded a little off in the recent holiday special they did, the Halloween special they did.
Yeah, that and the 6-part miniseries they did, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, I did enjoy that Disney Plus show they did. He didn't sound too weird in that one, but for whatever reason in the Haunted Mansion one, he sounded weird. Because I thought
Between
Steve Whitmire,
Modern Muppets, I always felt like the movie was trying to reboot, and I feel like Walter should be the leader of the Muppets now and let the old Muppets kind of step to the side and let Walter have adventures.
I don't necessarily disagree that we could make Walter like the forefront of new Muppet adventures, but I don't think you can entirely get rid of those characters. Like you can't really have the
definitely
you can't have the Muppets without Kermit the Frog, and that was kind of the issue when Jim Henson died, even though he had already sold the Muppets to Disney. Was like that, how are we going to carry on with that character when that character is so intricate to Henson's personality and voice? It's pretty much Henson's voice.
Steve
And I thought,
Whitmire does a good job.
yes, I thought Steve Whitmire did a very good job of kind of carrying the mantle and being Kermit the Frog. Those are like entirely huge, iconic shoes to fill. What I think is funny is that they like quit using the character of Rolf for so long after Henson's death, which is strange to me because that seems like that would have been an easier voice to replicate.
Yeah.
Than Kermit's voice.
Rolf was one of my favorites.
Another kind of influence this movie has is Maurice Sendak, who wrote Where the Wild Things Are. You see that book also, but there was a particular story of Sendak's that it has a similar plot line to this about goblins kidnapping a child, and they had to put like a special thanks or something in there from him not trying to sue them when they made this movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
it doesn't say it's an adapted story. It just says it's made by Dennis Lee and Jim Henson and written by Terry Jones.
Yeah, so it is written, but because it is technically an original story that just has beats to that book. So the story kind of comes from Brian Freud, who was the production designer on The Dark Crystal, Henson's other film he directed. And they wanted to do another project together. And he kind of came up with this idea about goblins and another fantasy story. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And he liked Terry Jones's film Eric the Viking, which Henson watched, and that's how he got incorporated into writing the screenplay. Now, I know you're a Python fan, so can you...
Eric the Viking was 3 years after Labyrinth.
Was it? Because they mentioned in the Wikipedia page that that was the movie that they saw and liked. It must have been a different film then.
That's what they on the Monty Python films.
Anyways, can you tell that there's Python humor in this?
A little bit, yes. Well, it's more of the imagination side I can see being Monty Python. Because I always see Monty Python, they're all good writers and they all have really good imagination.
They did not see the movie. Oh, sorry to interrupt. They read the script of Eric the Viking. That's what it was.
I see.
So the script was already written and they liked the script. But I do think there's some bit of it, especially with the worm and the guards with the two heads. Like, those are very Python-esque type of scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot. There are some bits that do feel Python-esque.
So I did interrupt you. I'm sorry. Carry on with your thought.
Yeah. I feel like Gilliam has the better imagination out than Monty Python's. But Terry Jones, he writes books as well as writes, obviously, and directs movies.
As far as from a directing standpoint,
what, Terry Gilliam?
Yeah,
I meant like writing wise.
I would agree that Gilliam is a little more skilled of a writer and director than Terry Jones. But
Yes.
apparently Terry Jones was not happy with the movie because he said it wasn't very much like the script he had written. Apparently, George Lucas, who also was an executive producer on this, wrote a little bit on the script, and comedian director and script doctor Elaine May worked on this script as well.
Yes, it says. And it's a good script.
I agree. I think it's a pretty solid movie. It's pretty fun. I can see why there's a lot of people that kind of grew up with this movie and love it. Like, this is my sister's favorite movie, probably because she wanted to banish me to a Goblin King when I was a baby. It's my stepdaughter's favorite movie. I can't tell you how many times she's seen this film.
Does she want to send her sister to the Goblin King?
Not anymore. She might have when she was younger. I can't verify that as truth, though.
Yes. I also found out about this on my second watch. Alex Thompson is the cinematographer, and he also shot a movie I recently watched this week called Excalibur.
Oh, cool. I did not know that. That makes sense.
And both films are also done by Trevor Jones doing the music.
I do like the music in this.
Yeah, I do. I think people mainly know the music for the Bowie song he sings in the middle.
Well, doesn't he sing 2 songs? I mean, the Magic Dance song is the most popular one, I think. But
yes,
I think, or does he sing 3 songs? Because there's that song at the beginning that he sings.
Do you think this influenced RRR because they have like musical numbers halfway through the film?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, you know, that's a big thing, though, in India, though, is they do have those big musical numbers in a lot of their movies. I mean, the director did say Kung Fu Panda, though, is one of his all-time favorite films.
Nice.
So, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's got great costumes, too. So,
yes. Yes, it's won my Flemming Awards for costume.
oh.
Did it win any Oscars for costume?
I don't think so, but let's just, while we're chatting here, let's see what kind of awards.
It said it was nominated for BAFTA for Best Visual Effects.
Well, here's the thing. This movie did not do well in America. It was kind of a flop.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you today, because Justin mentioned when we did a top 5 fantasy list that film isn't as popular in the USA compared to the UK.
Well, the movie did better financially in the UK when it was released 6 months later.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything, but let me see if I can find if it got nominated.
It was the BAFTA to Aliens.
For visual effects? That makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, it was nominated for a BAFTA and a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation.
Yeah.
So let me see what it lost to at the Hugo Awards. Also lost to Aliens.
Yes.
Looks like Henson and Oz were up against each. What's that?
What did it lose? It got nominated for 2 Saturns.
It did get nominated for 2 sets. Okay.
Lost costumes to Star Trek 4. Does Star Trek 4 have good costumes?
They're fine. Not as good as the Labyrinth, so that's weird.
And
maybe that's just.
Fantasy. It lost Best Fantasy Film to a film called The Boy Who Could Fly.
Don't even know what that movie is.
No, neither do I.
So it looks like him and Frank Oz were up against each other at the Hugo Awards with Little Shop, and then the other films that were nominated were The Fly and Star Trek 4.
I need
kind of surprised. Oh, it's so good. It's so fun. Not only does it have great performances and Rick Moranis can sing, the music's written by the guy who wrote the music for The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin.
Alan Menken.
And Howard Ashman.
Nice.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Aliens beat out The Fly, because you would think the effects in Fly are kind of legendary, but Aliens was probably the more popular movie. You never seen The Fly?
No. My dad described it as horrible, so I don't think I got round to watching it. It's on Disney Plus in the UK. I just need to get my head. I just need to watch it on the right day.
It is a Fox movie.
I know. I like a film about a girl who sexually gets involved with cars.
Yeah, it is gross. It is a very Cronenberg body horror, but it's not his grossest movie.
What's his grossest?
There's a lot of Cronenbergs I haven't seen, but I would say probably from what I've seen, either Dead Ringers or The Naked Lunch. Also, Crimes of the Future was pretty gross.
Yeah, the imagery was the best thing about that movie.
But I haven't. He did a movie called Crash where people get into car crashes and have sex.
I want to watch. I want to watch that movie. See if it's a better film called Crash.
I'm sure it is the better movie called Crash.
Yeah. So we've spoken about Bowie's acting. Do you like Bowie as a singer, Cody?
Well, of course, he's one of the biggest icons in rock and roll history.
Do you have a favorite album by him?
Don't be judgy, but I think my favorite album is actually Let's Dance, because one of my favorite musicians plays guitar on that album for him, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah. Nice.
No, and it's got Modern Love. Modern Love. It's got Cat People on it. It's got some great bangers.
Definitely. There are some good bangers on that album. My favorite album of his is Ziggy Stardust.
That's what I was gonna figure when you said you liked the Ziggy Stardust look. I was assuming that's also your favorite album.
Yeah, I can listen to the album without skipping a track.
Well, what do you think of Jennifer Connely as the lead here?
Yes, I was going to get on to Jennifer Connely. A bloke I used to work with didn't like her performance, and I'm like, but she goes into becoming a phenomenal actress. And granted, this isn't her best performance because that's coming in like that's coming in the year 2000. But I think it's a good performance from Jennifer Connely. I don't.
She's only 15.
She's transformative she's transformative as Sarah quite well.
Yeah, and I mean, she's only 15 here, and she's playing the role of a teenage girl, and I think she's doing a really good job. Because normally in these type of stories, especially the stories it's kind of invoking, you don't really like the character. Like, do you like Dorothy? Do you like Alice in those movies? You kind of just like the world they're in and the other characters.
I like the girl from Spirited Away.
Yeah, well, Spirited Away is
I like
great.
the girl from Pan's Labyrinth, and I get really sad at that ending.
Yes, Pan's Labyrinth did not exist yet, and neither did Spirited Away. But like Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, you don't really like Dorothy and Alice that much. You like kind of more the world, and I think Jennifer Connely does a good job of. What's that?
My favourite's the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz, and my favourite in Alice in Wonderland. I'd then have to say the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, solid choices. But I think she does a really good job here of kind of making her a sympathetic character, and you're like on the journey with her. Also, she'd already been acting because she was in Once Upon a Time in America. She plays the younger version. Yes, masterpiece of Elizabeth Perkins' character. And she was in a Dario, I think she was already in a Dario Argento movie. Or was that after this?
Let's have a look.
Nope, 1985. So Phenomenon was before Labyrinth. Yeah, so she's already like a seasoned actor at age 15.
Yes.
But yeah, she would go on to be give much stronger performances. But again, she also just grew into a great actor. Like, how many 15-year-olds don't go on to have better performances that stay in the acting profession?
I guess Kurt Russell is one, Christian Bale, Jamie Bell, Jodie Foster. They are out there. Jennifer Connelly's
they're
not
great
the only
actors.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, they went on to become great actors.
Yeah.
So what about the puppetry? What do we think about the puppetry in this movie?
I think it's impressive. I do find Hoggle's design quite creepy, and it's funny you mentioned Mick Jagger earlier because Hoggle looks like Keith Richards.
Oh, see, to me, I can kind of see that, but he also kind of looks like Tommy Lee Jones to me. Like, if they made Tommy Lee Jones a puppet, it would be Hoggle.
If
but
Tommy Lee Jones and Keith Richards had a secret love child, it would be Hoggle.
But I can kind of see the Keith Richards look, especially because Hoggle likes the jewelry, you know? And, yeah. So I could kind of see the Keith Richards look. And that, but we wouldn't know what he was saying if Keith Richards had done the voice of Hoggle.
No, we wouldn't.
It would be incomprehensible. Couldn't even find the right stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Goodness. But Justin was saying that the movie's more popular here than in the UK.
Apparently so.
Huh. Well, maybe its cult status has made it more popular here, but upon release, the UK was much kinder to this film.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because both of Jim Henson's big fantasy films kind of flopped. And this was he kept trying to progress the puppetry into things that weren't for children, like not just children. He wanted to move it forward for all ages.
Exactly, for all ages.
Did you know that the baby is the production designer's son and now he works in puppetry?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he worked on the Dark Crystal TV series. And his name is actually Toby.
That is quite funny to learn. That is quite funny. I've never seen the Dark Crystal, but I wanted to watch the. I don't know whether to watch the series first because it's
Oh,
a
because it's a
prequel.
prequel? Yeah, you should watch
Yeah,
both. I'm a big fan of both of them. I kind of like the Dark Crystal more than this movie. I know a lot of people call this like the nerdy girl fantasy film, but I don't think it's strictly a girl movie. But I can see why a lot of young women probably love this movie or loved it when they were children.
yeah. And
So the
and
net,
she doesn't have a love interest.
yeah, no love interest, which is great because one, she's a child, and two, it just helps the story, which is one of the things I love about Spirited Away as well. Is there's no push for
I
that.
know, Cody. I'm not going to accuse this film of male bashing just because it's a female hero and a male villain.
Well, good because it's not male
It's not
bashing.
no, it's not no politicalness to it. It's just a fantasy movie.
Yes, it's just a fantasy story. We're gonna put a young girl in this fantastical world, and she's gotta save her brother. She's gotta save her brother and
To be
all her
honest,
companions.
you could literally swap gender with any of these characters, and the film would still make sense. Jareth could be a queen, and Sarah could be a boy.
Yeah, and you could make all the puppet characters that help her on her journey female as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Maurice Sendak story that he accused them of stealing is called Outside Over There. It follows a young girl who must enter a fantastical world to find her baby sister who's been spirited away by goblins.
That would make a good movie on its own right.
Which I guess I can see why he thought, they kind of stole his idea. It's pretty similar.
It would be. There's been rumors for ages about a possible sequel to this. Do you think that could happen?
I will say never because we did get the Dark Crystal series. I'm not sure what a sequel would do. I know Scott Dickerson at one time was attached to do a sequel. And I know that there's been, like, I think there's a continuation in comic book form, as they've done with the Dark Crystal. There's a board game.
It looks like Scott Derrickson's gonna go back to doing more horror stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I heard of why they didn't end up doing the Doctor Strange sequels, because they wanted it to be more of a horror film than it ended up being.
Yeah. Here's a really random question. If this film was made today, who would play Jareth?
Oh my god. Oh. Who would play Jareth if this was made today? Justin Timberlake, maybe?
No, it's got to be somebody who sounds really like Cunning. Could Benedict Cumberbatch?
Oh, totally. So if we're not thinking like a musician, just an actor, yeah, I could see Benedict Cumberbatch doing this. He might be a little more intense and scary.
Ooh, that if you added more of a horror element to this movie, it could work.
Yes.
They,
Yeah, and
they horror a lot of stuff nowadays, so maybe a horror reimagining of this would be the best way to move forward.
I mean, it does have horror elements, like the bag lady with all her stuff on there when she's in that part of the after she bites the peach.
Yeah.
The other director who was considered was Freddy Alvarez, who directed the Evil Dead remake. So they were going with these horror directors. And they even thought about adapting it for the stage, which would have been cool.
Ooh. There was also rumors about Tilda Swinton
I
playing
I could see,
Jareth.
yep, I could see Tilda Swinton doing this
I
because
think
she's
Tilda
very,
Swinton would be better if she was playing like a different character, like maybe his daughter.
yeah, maybe, but she's very, she could come off as androgynous, so you know, you don't know, like kind of like
She's
how
done
David
drag.
Bowie did.
She's done drag before, Tilda Swinton.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that. I actually like that casting because if somebody kind of has that energy and that aura that's kind of Bowie-esque without the singing, because I don't know if Tilda can sing. I would say, yeah, Tilda could do it.
I'd say also maybe Johnny Depp. Because I've seen Johnny Depp.
Maybe if it was like 15 years ago.
Is he a bit too old now at the age of 59? Because he's younger than Tilda Swinton.
Yes. Also, he just isn't doing anything interesting as an actor anymore. And Tilda still is.
Given the chance.
Well, he was already phoning it in before he got canceled and all his issues. I was pretty much done with Johnny Depp when he played Tonto.
Oh, that was bad casting.
Yes, he should not have played that.
It's more the other actor I don't like in that movie.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I can do the Social Network because of Fincher, Eisenberg, Garfield, Justin Timberlake. You know, they're all nice guys.
Yeah, that's such a great movie, though. But yeah, oof. Guess he really is like his character from Sorry to Bother You.
An abusive arsehole.
Yep.
Yep. That was a weird movie. Weirder than Labyrinth.
For sure. You probably don't know who this person is, but for listeners, if you're Star Trek fans, if you didn't know Gates McFadden, who's most famously for playing
McFadden is, because you have to remember, Cody, I watched Family Guy and there's an episode with all the cast members on the episode.
Okay, so you know, because most famously known for playing Dr. Beverly Crusher on Star Trek The Next Generation. She was the dance choreographer.
Is that Will Wheaton's mum in the show?
Yes, that's the person who plays Will Wheaton's mother, Wesley Crusher's mom. She was the choreographer for this film, and she also worked on The Muppets Take Manhattan and The Dark Crystal. Like, that's kind of where her career started. And she was supposed to play the stepmom in this movie, but there was some sort of union rules that she couldn't have so many job duties, so they had to cast a different person to play the stepmother in the film.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
What's your favourite film with Jennifer Connely in, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Oh, man. That's okay. God, my favorite movie with Jennifer Connely. Like, just her in the movie, or a performance of her?
I'd say the movie overall that she's in.
Okay.
The
Gosh.
performance, it's like Room for a Dream, in my opinion. That's her best performance.
That is a great role. Man, it's a hard movie to watch though, but yeah, that's a great role. That probably is her best role. I'm probably gonna say Dark City.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah. Dark City's really cool. It's from the director of The Crow. It's a very imaginative kind of film
Rufus
noir.
Wells, William Hurt, Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connely, Richard O'Brien, and Ian Richardson. Is that the one?
Yep, and Ruford Soul is not playing a prick in this one.
Oh yeah, he's the one from The Father.
You know, he's also the guy that keeps cheating on Kate Winslet in The Holiday, and I think he's the asshole in A Knight's Tale.
Yes, that's the one. He's the arsehole.
Jennifer Connely also famously played two great love interests in two underrated comic book movies, The Rocketeer and Ang Lee's Hulk.
I can speak for Ang Lee's Hulk. That is awesome.
Yeah. And of course, she's won an Academy Award for her performance in A Beautiful Mind.
Yes, which we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we'll be discussing that film at a later date.
Yes, I reckon Cody must think that Jennifer Connely and Russell Crowe are my two favourites of all time at this rate.
Maybe so, because you keep picking their movies when we talk directors that they've worked with. But they are very good actors. I like both of them.
Yes, I want to see that new horror with Russell in.
What is that called?
The Pope's Exorcist, I think, or the Priest's Exorcist.
Oh, that's right. I think I've seen trailers for it.
Yeah.
I am kind of sad this is the last Jim Henson movie we're talking about, and I'm kind of sad that he didn't get to make more movies. I know he went on to produce other things, and he really did love these kind of fairy tales and folklores. It's
How
kind
come
of
people don't make them like this anymore? How come people don't use puppets?
Well, I mean, they do in some things, like Where the Wild Things Are movie was the Henson Company
The last
puppets.
thing I saw with puppets was that film Brian Henson made called The Happy Time Murders, and that did not live up to the hype of the Muppets.
No, I didn't see that because I knew the concept. The concept sounded great, but
it's basically a puppet version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
but nowhere near as good.
No disrespect to Brian Henson. I'm not shitting on his work. I didn't hate the movie, but and he didn't write the screenplay, so there was nothing really he could do about the story. He just tried to get it the way it was written on paper.
As far as why puppetry isn't used more than it is, I guess, it's cheaper to do CGI. And I mean, there are people who still use it. I mean, Guillermo used it in Hellboy 2 in the troll market scene. That's all puppetry.
Yes. But just when you see the old Star Wars and then you see the new ones, which is just a CGI fest, and it hurts the eyes.
I mean, I do agree. I prefer Yoda as a puppet as opposed to CGI. But you couldn't get Yoda to do what he did in Attack of the Clones if he was a puppet.
No, I think that moment he should be CGI, but the rest he should be a puppet.
But, he went on to produce things. I think Fraggle Rock was still going on at this time. His company continued to work in film.
Version of Trolls.
Mm-hmm. He did a great show called The Storyteller, which is a short-lived series about folklore with puppetry. that if you can find it, I highly recommend. I just wonder what we could have got from him had he not passed so early in his life. If we had gotten another 20, 30 years of Jim Henson work, where he would have taken the art form and where we would have seen puppetry go.
Yeah, I want to know where that would. And it is a shame that the Muppets have still been popular, but they've never really had a chance to experiment without Jim commanding the ship.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was part of why he sold it, is because he wanted to do other things besides keep doing the Muppets the rest of his life. And he wanted to keep advancing and furthering who the audience was for puppetry. I mean, the Muppets was a nice transition from when he was working on Sesame Street, because Sesame Street is strictly a children's show. And the Muppets was kind of an in-between thing because, most of us kids were watching it, but there's a lot of jokes and things that adults like that the kids can't quite get, but it never talks down to kids.
No.
And that's one of the things that made him a truly gifted and touching person, was that he did treat children like human beings. He didn't think of them as lesser or dumb or anything like that. And there's a great biography about him written by this guy named Brian J. Jones. I highly recommend you read it if you're at all a fan of his or any of his work.
Okay. And he worked on The Witches.
Yes, they did. They worked on The Witches, which is a great movie. They worked on the Ninja Turtle movies back in the 90s. Yeah, it'll never happen, but if I was a multi-millionaire, billionaire, and could finance my passion project, I would make a puppet version of Usagi Yojimbo into a movie.
So basically, you'd be remaking A Fistful of Dollars.
Well, Yojimbo.
Yeah, Yojimbo.
With puppets.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd take use in that meme if you could name a movie, keep one actor, and replace the rest of Muppets.
Oh man, that's so hard. So if I could do any movie, keep only one only one human actor, and the rest cast of Muppets. How about Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and just keep Johnny Depp?
Yeah, Johnny Depp would fit in with the Muppets, to be fair.
How about that one? Let the Gonzo,
yes.
Dr. Gonzo could be Gonzo.
Yes. Yes, Johnny Depp and Gonzo are going to Las Vegas for the weekend.
Yep. Christina Ricci is Camilla the chicken.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's all I have to talk about Labyrinth today.
Yeah. I didn't come up with any personal ratings for this series, so I think this movie's really good. It's a lot of fun. It's a big nostalgic watch for me. It's not my personal favorite. I prefer The Dark Crystal, but it's a fun movie. It's got a great soundtrack, and watch out for what's in David Bowie's pants, because I think that might be a puppet too.
No. Apparently his penis was massive.
Oh, okay. That's not lying.
Yes. Did you see Teenage Daydream, the documentary?
I did. It was a very good documentary.
Yeah, because they referenced Labyrinth in that too.
They do. I did slightly prefer that director's documentary on Kurt Cobain, though, over
Yeah, that was a
Moonage
documentary.
Daydream. It had a little bit more of a narrative style than the Moonage
Yeah,
Daydream did, but that's okay. I guess that's
I think
part of the
Moonlight
Bowie.
Daydream was trying to be, a more experimental and unique rather than be a standard documentary.
Oh, speaking of another actor, did you ever watch American Gods, the TV show?
The one with Ian McShane, I've always wanted to.
So in the first season, they have like there's a god of I can't remember if they're a god of media or pop culture, but it's played by Gillian Anderson, and in one of the segments, she's David Bowie as Ziggy Stardust. So that's another actor who could probably play Jareth or Kate Blanchett also.
Yes, sign me up now. Yeah, so Labyrinth, I really like the performances from Bowie and Connely. The puppeteering and the voice acting is all fantastic. The set design, costume, I really like how they make this world come to life. And yeah, there's some good musical numbers and some good sound and film score. And I'm going to have to give this one a 4.5 out of 5.
I guess I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, okay. I just prefer it a little bit more, a tiny bit more to you.
Yeah, that's fine. I like it a lot. I think The Dark Crystal is his best film, and this is very good.
Yeah, I don't think
I
your
don't.
rating system is as harsh as mine.
No, it probably isn't. Which I mean says you really like this movie, then. But I don't think it's quite up there with the Spirited Away, Pan's Labyrinth
Oh no, definitely not.
echelon. But
It's better than Pan's Labyrinth.
But it's a very good movie, and I think its cult status will endure and live on. And yeah, maybe we'll get to see some sort of continuation of this world in some way or fashion one day.
Definitely. I'd hope to return to this world. And Jennifer Connely could have a cameo or play the new character's mother.
She could. She expressed interest in doing another one if they ever did it. So I guess she's.
I think she would for the benefit of her career and the benefit for everybody else.
I don't think she hides or pretends that some people will always know her as Labyrinth Girl.
No, they won't. A lot of people will know Jennifer Connely from Labyrinth. When I ask people if they know Jennifer Connely, the first thing they say is, "Yeah, the girl from Labyrinth."
Well, you got to think this is probably not just because, especially people of that generation was their introduction to her, but it's probably still a lot of people's introduction to her is this movie.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Well, Robbie, thank you so much.
Hulk was mine, but yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, of course. You're welcome always. Thanks for staying up late and talking this kooky little movie with me.
It's always a pleasure to talk about David Bowie and movies, and this one I get to talk about both.
Bonus. You got both of them in. Did you want to plug your show at all before we leave?
Yes. Make sure you check out the Flemming Award. The Flemming Film Talk on YouTube. Cody has appeared on some of the episodes. It's mainly me and Justin. Last week we spoke the Oscars, and next week we're talking about the movies of Christopher Nolan.
All right. Are you guys ranking all of them?
Yeah, all 10 from Following to Tenet in a celebration for Oppenheimer coming out in July. I wanted to get them out quick.
Is it 10 or 11?
10 or 11. No, I said Following to Tenet. His last movie is called Tenet.
Yeah, I think it's 11 now.
That was his 11th.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think I know
And
what your
also
number one is.
Follow the Fleming Awards on Facebook too.
Great. Thank you again. Thanks for staying up late. Have a good weekend.
Yes, you too.
This will be on YouTube right now. You can see it later on Facebook and Twitter. Next episode will be Little Shop of Horrors. And then if you're watching our weekly show, we're going to continue celebrating films either starring or directed by women. And it's more directed by women this upcoming week because we're going to be talking, because John Wick's coming out, we're talking Point Break. And we're going to also pair that with Lords of Dogtown.
Ooh. I still think you should do one on Promising Young Woman.
Maybe we'll close out the month with that. We'll see.
Sweet.
All right.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Cody. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.